Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today here on Authentically You. And today I'll be joined by Andrea Rice. And Andrea, actually, we kind of know each other, but we don't know each other. We're more like acquaintances. So this show will be a little different for me in that I'm going to learn lots of things about Andrea that maybe I didn't know. And maybe she's going to learn some things about me as well. We'll see. That's great. It's great conversation. And I like that. So also want to mention that Andrea has her own podcast and she's also written a book right here, Vibrational Mastery. A high vibration is your superpower, and it most definitely is. Thank you for my copy.
You're
I
welcome.
definitely will read this. So I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to let her talk about this and her podcast. And the name of your podcast?
Is how good it can get.
Okay. I love that because, most of us are definitely not focused on how good it can get, but the lack or maybe things that we're sitting in, being in that victim seat in our lives. So I really enjoy the concept of the name of that show. So on your show, where can we find that? Where is it available at?
It's currently anywhere you can find a podcast. So Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Okay. What was your incentive for doing that podcast?
I always called years ago to do a podcast, and I don't know if you think I believe sometimes things are divinely given to you.
Yes, I do. I just don't know. Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
And something told me do a podcast, do a podcast, do a podcast. And I was like, why? I don't even listen to podcasts. Why would I do one?
Exactly.
And
I don't either, but I went there too.
Yeah. And I actually started doing a podcast at my work about 4.5 years ago. And that's before I went down my spiritual journey. And I think that was just in preparation for getting my message out.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So it's amazing how these synchronicities work. But once I was going through my spiritual journey, I would often say in the morning when I was doing my affirmations, universe, show me how good it can get.
Oh,
And that was the inspiration for the name and the
Right.
brand. Because I believe that, we were meant for abundance. We are, that is our divine right. And so, just show me how good it can get.
Yeah. And synchronicities is the whole thing. I mean, I teach a lot about that here in class and on Sundays, which people can also zoom into, but uh, it's a whole thing. And, the universe responds to what you're being, not what you're really wanting. Does that make sense? So what you're being. So what you're being is a beacon of light. What you're being for other people is showing them not to step and stay in fear or lack, but to be in abundance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen someone and it's just like you kind of know they're a good person, but there's a part of them that just won't let them get out of the funk they're in or the place that they're in to be something more?
Yeah.
And it bothers you a little bit inside. You feel that rub a little bit because you go, I think it's your soul. If you want to know my honest truth, I think it's your soul knows that soul knows better. They're just not doing the thing yet, right? Or haven't learned the lesson yet, or it has hit into their brain that this is not working good for me.
Yeah.
Right? Shifting my vibration might help.
Yeah. Vibration to me is, if you are trying to manifest something, the best thing you can do is focus on your vibration.
Yes.
And that's, if you're in a high vibration, abundance will just,
It will.
Yeah.
And you also have to be not in a lack mindset.
right.
I call it getting out of the victim seat, because we're taught to be in the victim seat from an early age.
Yeah.
Most of us are. There are those rare settings out there within families and things that, where the children are very positive and not in that mindset. But at the end of the day, it's not just the family either. It's your whole environment. You could have friends as you're growing up that are fearful and teach you to have that negative thing, right? Not necessarily your parents. But how would you describe how to raise your vibration? What would you tell people to do to raise their vibration? How do you do it?
Well, the one thing you have to do, I think, is the basics is just you have to be always the watcher of your mind.
Yeah, you go.
Because it all starts there because our mind tends to go to what we know, which is unfortunately a lot of times lack or things that are not positive.
Right.
So you have to always be monitoring your mind. And when it starts to gravitate towards things that are not aligned with abundance and light and happiness, you need to say, I recognize this and I'm switching it. And you have the power. I think we have more power than we even realize. We have the power to stop the negative mindset, stop the fear, and change it.
Right.
Switch it. Yep. In an instant.
So the way it happened for me, so we talk about authenticity and many things within the concept of being your authentic self and being something different than maybe what you have been is, talking about gratitude, talking about positive affirmation, talking about humility, letting go of judgment. And for me, that is a big connection to a man that's on my wall over here named Jesus, because he talked about that all the time. And he also talked about love. And he said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Was anybody listening when he said that? Because it's really in here. Okay. He also said the only way to the Father to that is through me. So be like me. You're going to get there. You're going to experience other dimensions. You're going to have different thoughts come into your mind, right? That were not there before. So for me, when I started going through this process, I was really able, that thing you're talking about, being aware of your thoughts shifting.
Right.
Thought an old thought would show up in a way I used to think, like back there, and I'd be like, nope, not today. Keep going, keep moving. Because this right here, this temple right here is not participating in that anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think that way here, y'all. Move along. And even if you have to have that conversation in your head or out loud, guys, it doesn't matter. You have a choice in how you think. You just don't think you do because you've always been in it and not outside of it. Right?
Right.
Well, a turning point for me, and I don't know about you, but a turning point for me was when the observer became the observed. When I started observing myself, and this is what you're talking about, when I started observing myself and the places where I still had things going on that did not feel right or did not align with becoming more like love, I could feel it and I could see it. And then when you do that, you can see it in others. I know that by you changing your mindset, now when you hear people say things, what do? Do you have thoughts about it? Like, oh, you should just let that go, or just tell that to move on, or, sometimes it triggers that within me.
Yeah. Or sometimes I'm like, oh, I remember when I used to think like that and I'm glad I don't.
Right.
Or, it's natural to want to like, hey, don't think like that.
Right.
But people have to come to it themselves.
They do. And that's where I wanted you to go with this. So it's like, but what happens, guys, is when you are able to see that in others, when you let go of judgment and you understand they're on their own journey and they have to learn it for themselves, you can give little clues or you can give this or that, or maybe just conversation, but it's not yours to fix nor judge them.
Right.
They're just going along the way. Now, if they come to you and say, Andrea, I need your help, that's a whole different mindset, right? That's a whole different place. And it's okay then to kind of go, well, have you thought about it this way? But I'm a firm believer, though, that when you do that, what happens is when you start looking at that person that's always angry all the time, now you have a compassion,
Right.
because you understand why they're angry all the time. You understand it.
Yeah.
You just know that they need to get through it. And you're like, well, let's see where they're at later in 2 months or 2 years or, because the soul knows no time, guys. The soul doesn't know time. The soul is eternal. It's not on your time. It's not on a watch that goes, okay, everybody now wakes up on this day, on this year. And that's not how it works. Nor should it. Because could you imagine the massive breakdown of the world if everybody just went, oh, we're way down. Okay, and now what do we do, right? So it's just like, that's not how it needs to happen. We need to have people like you and me and others, all the great other people who are out here teaching the same information. Because right now it's flooded everywhere. You see it everywhere. where people are trying to help others, help themselves, and talk about this stuff and get it really moving out there because unless it's done that way, unless you hear it, right? Think about it. Someone who's not exposed to it in their daily life, they have to hear it somewhere.
Well, and I think you have to hear it at the right time.
Yes.
Because I can send out a message today and it may not resonate at all. But if you hear it a year from now, you might be like, oh,
Yes. That's
I
true.
understand that.
That
Or
is true.
you weren't in a place to take it in prior.
Like-
You know, that has happened to me several times where I've heard the same thing, the
Me
same
as
message
well.
again and again and again.
Right.
But then there's one day that you're like, whoa.
Yep.
Now
It's like you
truly
have that
understand.
aha moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I would listen to certain people and when I first hear them, it was like wah, 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 wah. And it's, it's like not being able to really grasp it.
Right.
Neville Goddard. Aaron Neville was a singer, but Neville Goddard was one of those. It was like when I first heard him years ago, I was like, my God, what are you talking about, sir? You're killing me. You're making my head hurt. And now I listen to him and go, oh, I hear what you're saying. And it's like that moment where you're like, your mind is able to really fully take that in. And I think even on a vibrational level, words have vibration.
Yeah.
And even the way that you present it as a vibration, it has an essence.
Yeah.
Is it from love or is it from I want your money? Is it from, fear or is it, open to the whole world? It's in, people can feel that about you.
Yeah.
They know. You ever seen kids know when something's wrong, even though you haven't told them? They know.
Yeah.
They feel it. They feel it.
Like your pets know it too.
Yes,
Exactly. Like they can sense it.
it's part of the nature that we have. We just
Mhm.
don't nurture it to use it as
Yeah.
to help us out in our lives. Well, we will, but that's where we're headed. But I think we're learning lots of things about ourselves. So self-discovery is great because then you are more able to participate, as a we
Mhm.
in the same vibration.
Yeah.
No matter where they're at, because you have acceptance. So tell me about your book. Tell me about this.
So you're saying words have energy, and a vibration. Everything is energy, everything is vibration. And, I struggled with a long time of like, oh, I'm trying to manifest something and you have to be this vibrational match to it. Well, I think it took me a while to really master like how do you keep a high vibration? When you're in a high vibration because you feel great, right? And things are easy and flowing, but it's not going to be sustainable if you don't understand what you are doing to fall out of that vibration. And how do you pick it up when you feel yourself falling? And a lot of that again comes back to what I call self-assessment. I'm constantly self-assessing all day, every day, and it's like, oh, this feeling is not good. Where's it coming from?
So she's not saying that to make it feel like it's a daunting process.
It's not.
What happens is it'll start happening automatically.
Yeah.
Because if you set your intention, purposeful intention that you want to make a change within, and you start doing that with your thoughts and how you carry yourself, it'll start happening automatically. It's not like you have to keep going, okay, what am I thinking? That's not how it works. It's an automatic thing.
And it's very fast.
Right.
It's a fast thing. You're like, oh, I tuned into it. Okay, no, I'm watching something maybe on TV that is low vibration.
Yeah.
I categorize everything now as kind of low vibration or high vibration.
Right.
And just once you recognize those things, you can shift. And in my book, there are little tricks you can do to help raise your vibration. One of them is start looking around and counting things you're grateful for.
Yes.
That's an
Exactly.
easy way to raise your vibration.
I tell people all the time, it's all in how you look at it. So I walk out the door now, just an example, and I have a flat tire. I have a choice. I can either be the victim and, kind of flat tire. Right now, really, I wanted to go to Walmart, right? Or I can realize that maybe that flat tire saved my life or has a purpose. Maybe there's a wreck down the street in the way that I would have been going, and that flat tire kept me from doing that. Maybe that flat tire kept me so that someone profound is going to walk through the door of this shop today and change my life. If you realize or start thinking that everything in your life comes from a good place and is not sent here to harm you, and whatever that reasoning is, your life will change. It will profoundly be positive. And I talk about as humans, we have this concept of what's good and bad. So for me, it's changed to everything's good, and there is a scale of good. I mean, it might be down here on the low end of good, right? But does it have to be bad? I don't think so. I don't think so. It's, it is what it is. Now, some things you're going to say to me, Dawn, they're just bad. I mean, I'm not telling you to change your judgment completely, but in your day to day life, what we've done is we've become very comfortable with over dramatizing things in our life to bring up a familiar feeling, which then allows us to feel a feeling. Because when we've stuffed our feelings down all the time, not to feel, we'll do whatever it takes to get a little spark of that. Right. So if it means being dramatic, so be it. You ever heard, I can't get attention the good way, so I'll just get it however I can. Right. Yeah. Sounds familiar. I'm a mother of many children, so I understand that completely. So your podcasts, are they weekly or how often do you do those? Just
I
when you
do
feel?
them every 2 weeks.
Okay.
But it is a little bit when I feel like it, because coming back to everything is energy. I don't want to record from if I'm not feeling my best,
Right.
because I believe that will transfer
Definitely.
to the listener. So I always want to make sure I'm recording when I'm in a high vibrational state. But
Right.
yeah, and I just talk about things like vibration, or the power of positive thinking, or the power of our words and things like that.
Right.
Yeah, and how we're always manifesting, whether we realize it or not.
Right. And I feel like, so there's many ways that can represent exactly what you're talking about. And there's lots of people out there that present it in many ways. It's like Native American says there's two wolves inside of you, white wolf and a dark wolf. And which one are you feeding? Right.
Yeah.
Some people, I believe there's a garden within you, right? And you can grow flowers or you can grow weeds, right? There's a whole little poem up about that. What are you feeding today? What are you nurturing? Are you watering those seeds? Where are your thoughts? And that's exactly what you're talking about, and pulling that in and having that happen for you is profound and life changing and makes positive impact, not only on you, but your whole household.
Yeah.
And that vibrates out, right? And they can feel a shift within you and a change. Sometimes what happens, I've seen, well, with students and stuff, that they'll be at work and they'll be like, "What's going on with you? Why are you different now? Why are you?" In a positive way.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's in a negative way because sometimes when you go through transformation, guys, those people that you were comfortable with back here, you're not comfortable with anymore. And I want to remind you, you're the one who chose to make the change. So kind of be compassionate with them. But it can be a whole thing, especially in the workplace. They're going to notice you. Whether you like it or not, it's your work family. If you spend a lot of time with people at work, it's depending on how many hours a day you work too. And it's kind of like this whole thing, of they understand what they're used to seeing. And now when they see change, maybe you're happy all the time now, right? Maybe you're happy all the time, or you're not worried all the time. You're not laying awake at night now about things that you can't control or change anyway. And they're like, "So how did you do that?" And then you have to have a conversation to say, "Yeah, this is how I did it." Right?
Yeah.
That's great. That is empowering like nobody's business. Because if you are able to make change in your thoughts and how you feel, how powerful do you want to be?
No. Yeah.
Because we're not shown how to do that. You're figuring that out on your own. I believe God has a plan and he assists people, to understand it. Why do you think so many people are waking up at the same time around the world? Come on. Not by any mistake. Divine timing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful time to be alive.
Exactly. We are seeing great things and great sayings, right? So yeah, I'm very excited about it. I'm very happy about it. And I support anybody who is out here making a difference and sharing their knowledge. And what is that? If you are sharing with others with an intention to help the whole of humanity, that's love. That's love all day long. And no matter how you want to look at it, that's what that is. And you know what? I also believe that what you get back. Don't worry about how you're getting it back. Don't get into that. Just know that you're going to have a beautiful, wonderful life. And you do that. You do that, and all is good. You'll take care of itself. I've had some profound things happen, and I'm just sitting there with my mouth open going, okay, I'll take that. Didn't see it coming. Why is that? Because our minds, if we try to control it analytically, that's not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be having faith, trust, and belief, and being the best you that you can be will provide the circumstance that fully embraces you and holds you up and supports you through your life. That's coming back to your true nature. That's where we've never been because we don't have it. We don't know how to do that. It's not, we have to trust in something unseen and trust in ourselves, which no one usually does because we're taught to trust outside of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
You need somebody. You're told you got to get you a good husband, buy you a house, have 2.5 kids. What is 2.5 kids? I don't even know what that equals. Okay, get a dog. They love you. They just
Unconditionally.
unconditionally. Because every day you come home, they're at the door. They don't know where you've been, what you've done, what you said. And they just love you anyway. Be like the dog. Take lessons. That's where I'm at. So, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Oh gosh. No, I just think, when you can really control your mind, I like that saying, control your mind or
Yeah.
your mind will control you.
Yes.
That's the beginning of, being superpower.
Yes. You know what helps? And I have some people do this as well. Visualization. On Sundays when I teach in the mornings for free, I think that's important. I had take them through some visualization exercises. I got them good the first time because they didn't realize what we were doing. Because people always say, "Oh, I can't get my mind to quiet. I can't control my thoughts. How do you do that? I can't even grasp how you do that." Well, when I took them through the visualization exercises, they were able to visualize everything I asked them to visualize. They were able to, and as soon as I got done, I said, "Now, guess what? You're in control of your mind. You just did all that. You stopped the mind. You had the visualization. You saw the things I was talking about, and you profoundly did that. So don't you ever tell me again. You're not in control of your mind because you are. You are. Sometimes you got to quiet the monkey brain down to do it, but you can do it. So I want to thank you for being on today. This was great. So now we know a little bit more about each other. Yeah, great stuff. And definitely check out her book, Vibrational Mastery. A high vibration is your superpower. Where is that available at?
It's on Amazon.
Okay, great, great, great. And her name is Andrea Rice, so you can find that there. And then she also has her podcast that's out there all over the place.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you most definitely for coming in today. Great
Well,
stuff.
I want to thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Great, great stuff. So, and until we see you again on Authentically You, be blessed.